Okay, back again. This is the main event stream for today. This is the one that I think people will benefit from the most. So I have prepared for some information, some details for those of you who are trying to find really cheap miniatures. I know it's very, very difficult nowadays to make that possible. You will find the start time for this video is down in the description. Okay, so I normally present everything first in my live streams and then I open it up for questions and answers. I'm going to follow the same pattern that I've normally done in the past. It's just going to make it easier for me to communicate everything. Okay, so sound is good, and I see that Hubbard is here, Matt is here, and people are eager to go and watch movies, which I totally understand. There's no reason why you can't re-watch the live stream at a later date if you wanted to, so that's not going to be a problem. But this is an opportunity for you to ask questions near the end of the live stream once I've done my presentation. So let's get started, let's get into this. Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. Sorry. Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Wheeler, and today I want to talk about where you can buy the cheapest official Dungeons & Dragons miniatures for 2019, because things are not the same as they used to be. There's really no such thing as cheap official Dungeons & Dragons miniatures, or just cheap miniatures really for Dungeons & Dragons. There really just isn't. What works in one country does not work in another country. It depends on where you are in the world, unfortunately. But generally, the best method for gaining any kind of miniatures still remains buying the Dungeons & Dragons official board games with unpainted miniatures, where you know exactly what the contents of the box are, because unpainted miniatures are always cheaper than painted miniatures, unless of course you're incredibly lucky. You just need to paint them, but you don't have to worry about painting them. You could just play with them unpainted. There's nothing wrong with that. So the board games. Now, where can you get those miniatures from? So there are a couple locations people have suggested in the past for getting cheap Dungeons & Dragons miniatures. One is Reaper Bones. The Kickstarters are often suggested. They unfortunately require a heavy outload or heavy load of cash or an outlay to begin with, and then it can take up to a year, if not longer, to actually get your miniatures delivered to you. So you're not paying for a product to be delivered to you straight away. You're paying for a product that hasn't been made yet. And it may not include the miniatures you wanted. You can buy from Reaper Bones unpainted miniatures and set for goblins, skeletons, zombies, very generic monsters. These are like packs of 6, and they can be relatively cheap. They are unpainted, so that's certainly an option if you wanted to go that way. I've never found it particularly cheaper than doing the Dungeons & Dragons board games. Okay, now what about eBay online? It is, unfortunately, eBay is full of scams and poor quality knockoffs. So you need to be very careful with using eBay. In the past, it might have been an option. You could strike it lucky occasionally, try your chance at a Dungeons & Dragons miniature lot and do really well. But everybody is after miniatures. Everybody wants a cheap deal, and unfortunately, you're going to be bidding with a whole lot of other people for the same product. So don't think that eBay is going to be your solution. If you do see discounted Dungeons & Dragons board games on eBay, I would certainly suggest trying that out, because that could work out quite well for you. But eBay is different depending on where you are. If you're in North America, you'll do well. Anywhere else in the world, and you probably will not do well, unfortunately. What about the miniature market online? It is not very cheap anymore. This is where I often got a lot of my pre-painted miniatures, and I got them really cheap, like 20 cents, 50 cents, really cheap. Now those days are gone. Now you're really looking at fairly expensive miniatures. You can get pre-painted miniatures if you buy the singles in bulk and then just ship everything to you, but it's certainly not the best solution to your situation. If you can pick up the board games discounted on Miniature Market, you might be able to save just a few bucks. So certainly another option in terms of purchasing the Dungeons and Dragons board games to get the miniatures that are inside there. For those of you who have really heavy exchange rates and shipping costs, try the book depository. I have bought Dungeons and Dragons board games. It has no shipping cost for anywhere in the world. This is not the best option. If you are living in North America, don't use the book depository. Look for their discounts. Occasionally the book depository will have these particular products on discount. That's the time to pick them up. Otherwise, at their standard rates, it's far too expensive. Okay, we all know about Amazon. We've used Amazon many times before, right? So Amazon Online is a pretty good place to buy Dungeons and Dragons board games if you live in North America. Anywhere else, it doesn't work out because you get free shipping in North America. This can be the best and most reliable option for getting cheap Dungeons and Dragons miniatures that are in fact official as well. Okay, there are unfortunately after that so many other options. I don't want to go into every single one. There's a lot of cons, unfortunately. A lot of scams out there. Shipping costs for wherever you are in the world can be a problem. Exchange rates as you change from the US dollar to your dollars can be a problem. And a lack of, sometimes these places where you go and you have a look, see, can I get the miniatures? They don't even ship to your country. So that can be a problem. So this is not a solution for everybody, unfortunately. What I do recommend is if you are serious about buying miniatures, is go and check out the YouTube channel, Blanco. Now he has updated advice on buying miniatures, not necessarily anywhere in the world, because where he's located, he's not global as such. But he can give you some good advice about what you can pick up, what sort of prices to sort of consider. I think he is definitely the go-to for any kind of advice with regard to buying cheap miniatures and being able to sort of make up your own if you need to. The D&D board games, or Dungeons and Dragons board games, come with linking dungeon tiles as well, which is why I suggest they're a great option. So don't throw the dungeon tiles away, okay? Don't throw them out. The board games are themed, so when you buy these boxes, you'll find they have a particular theme behind them, which can be very useful if you're running a particular type of campaign. And you can tell usually by the box what the theme is. Also, the great thing about this is you know exactly what is in the box and you know that it's made of a reasonable quality. And that is an important thing to know because it actually tells you on the box at the back exactly what is inside those board games. Okay, what about Castle Ravenloft, the board game? The Dungeons and Dragons board game Castle Ravenloft. I think it's actually one of the better options, particularly as it has about 40 miniatures with a horror theme behind them. And in there, you're going to get a flesh golem, a zombie dragon, you're going to get yourself a Dracolich, a kobold sorcerer, vampire, werewolf, hag, dwarf cleric, high elf wizard, rogue, ranger, and a dragonborn fighter. Those are all the heroic miniatures. Then you get zombies, wolves, skeletons, flaming skeletons, ghouls, rat swarms, spiders, kobolds, wraiths, and gargoyles. And there's about 3 of each of those in those boxes. So that's a really good deal. It's not something to be sort of turning your nose up to. All right, Wrath of Ashardalon. This particular board game has 42 miniatures for general fantasy. That's really quite a large mix. It's not very thematic, so you need to be careful about what you're picking up in this case. You will get inside it one large red dragon, a rage drake, an otyog, a spectator, and your heroes are sort of like you've got a dwarf fighter, elf paladin, human cleric, half orc rogue, dragonborn wizard, which is kind of really rare, so that's a nice one to pick up. There's about 7 orcs in there. You get a Duragar, dwarves, kobolds, a grill, bears, snakes. There's some cloaked cultists if you need that. Some pit fiends, that's the lesser one, not the really big one, so don't get too excited. The gibbering mouthers are in there. And this is a very unpopular one. Now the next one is the Tomb of Annihilation. This particular board game, I don't really think it's a great idea. There's 42 miniatures for jungle themed play, really. And there is a stone juggernaut in it, but it's still overpriced or way too expensive at this particular time to be cost effective. But I know a lot of people like the idea of using Tomb of Annihilation, particularly if they are playing in the Tomb of Annihilation and they want something that sort of covers all the basics that they might need in their game, but not really an option if you're trying to save as much money as possible or you don't have that much money to spend in the first place. The Legend of Drizzt. It's an Underdark. So this has got 42 miniatures with an Underdark theme to them, which is awesome. It means that if you're playing something like Out of the Abyss, you're in business. So in here you get a Balor demon, you get a Shadow dragon, you get Drow mercenaries, human assassins, Drow mages, you get a Mind Flayer, a Yokol, that's a demon, a Drider, Drow cleric, lots of Drow basically. Your heroes, you get Drizzt, you get a Panther, you get a Barbarian, a Ranger, a Rogue, you get a Drow Rogue, you get a Human Fighter, you get a Dwarf Fighter, and you get a Battle Rager as well. And in here, you're going to find yourself with like a whole bunch of different things. So there's a Water Elemental, there's Goblin Archers, Goblin Cutters, Drakes, Spider Swarms, there's some Sprites and lots of Drow, and 2 Feral Trolls, which could be quite nice if you needed to have a troll in your game. Okay, next we have Tomb of Elemental Evil. Temple, sorry, not Tomb. Temple of Elemental Evil. There's 42 miniatures with an elemental theme to them. So if you're playing Princes of the Apocalypse, not a bad score. It's got one, as it happens, it's got 1 Shadow Dragon, which can be useful if you needed a Shadow Dragon. It has an Etten, Salamander. Its elementals, there's 1 of each of them. An air, fire, earth, and water elemental. I believe these are of, what is it? I believe it is either medium size or large size. I think it is actually medium size, so not quite the right scale for what you're after. The heroes are rogue, fighter, wizard, ranger, and a dwarf cleric. Next, you get sort of multiples of 3, so doppelgangers, gnoll, bugbear, hobgoblins, troglodytes, cultists, 1 for air, fire, water, and earth, so you get 3 of each, and then some fire bats. So not too bad, a pretty good score if you ask me. Here's the one you need to be wary of when you start looking at Dungeons and Dragons board games. I'm only mentioning it to warn you about the board game, and that is Assault of the Giants. Okay, Assault of the Giants looks like a really cool option because you figure, okay, it says on the back I get 12 giants with 2 of each type. So that means 2 fire giants, 2 air giant, 2 mountain giants or hill giants or whatever. But unfortunately, you need to avoid this box set. And I'll tell you why. The scale is incorrect. It's not the same scale as the pre-printed official Dungeons and Dragons miniatures. So if you thought you were going to get huge size miniatures and you're going to get 12 of them, no. So don't fall into that trap and think that's the right option. So leave them alone, don't buy them. So I'm hoping that you found this useful and helpful. Please let me know if you have any advice you would like to add to this. Hit the bell button, subscribe, like the video. Make sure that you share the video with other people who might be finding it difficult to find miniatures. I have a Patreon page, so you can support me there if you want to help support the channel. I also have affiliate links to all of these products down in the description for Amazon and the Book Depository. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s. Okay, I'm not gone. I do need to have a drink of water, and I am trying to find my face. I know I've got a camera that points at my face. Somewhere along here. There's a lot to say in a very short space of time. So this is your opportunity now to have a discussion with me about anything you might have queries about, because I have in fact done quite a bit of research. I would say probably far too much research as it happens. I actually have board games surrounding me. I feel like I'm in a toy shop right now. Okay, I've got my glasses, I've got the camera pointed at me, and let's just flick it over. Oh, is that like a spot of goo on those glass lenses? They probably are. Okay, sorry about that. I just need to be able to see, otherwise it's not going to work very well, is it? Okay, here we go. Let us have a look. So hi to everybody. Thank you for everybody who showed up. Thank you to my Patreons who are making it easier for me to do this sort of thing. And for every time you watch these videos, it's always helpful too. F Hubba, what do you got here? Heck with the reminder, just leave it in the background and until I hear it start. Okay. All right, I do apologize. I know I've been live streaming a lot today. Hi Matt, how's it going? Back again. Trying to watch Fred's and AJ's live stream at the time was almost impossible. Yes, absolutely. You can't watch two live streams at the same time. That would be too difficult. My stuff goes back up, so you can come back and watch it later. Go watch AJ. At least you get to have a chat with him about Dungeons and Dragons monster lore, right? What's this, F Hubba? It's a mass live stream night. It is. It has been. I know. I was thinking, what would I like on my channel, or what would I like on YouTube that's related to Dungeons and Dragons that I would like to see. So I'm kind of trying to do that today. We'll see how that works. Matt, you guess you love it. Okay. Now, if you have any questions, make sure to put #question so I don't skip past you. If you have any questions regarding pretty much anything. The topic is where to buy the cheapest official Dungeons and Dragons miniatures. That's really what we're talking about. So I'm not really talking about going down to your Chinese Emporium and just buying any old rubber or plastic toys. That's not really what I'm talking about at all. Anybody knows that they can do that if they really wanted to. That's not really the issue. The issue is trying to find something that's related and Dungeons and Dragons themed and the right scale that's going to work in your game, because you're playing Dungeons and Dragons with a grid that's like 5-foot squares, or 1-inch squares that are going to represent 5 feet. What's that? Both are my favourite. Don't want to pick between these two. Go watch AJ stuff. It's all good. F Hubba. Silvery Knoll Light. It's not. It's movie night. Yeah, you need to go watch a movie, man. I would go watch a movie. Absolutely. Out here in California, it has been garage sales and flea markets. So I have to get lucky. Yeah, the thing is, that's great. If you get garage sales and flea markets in your neck of the woods in somewhere like North America or California, that just doesn't really happen around the rest of the world. New Zealand is a very small country. So my country here, there's about 4.5 million. We get a better deal than anybody else because we get our stuff from Australia. So most of the stuff coming into the country is coming through that way. If we have to ship anything here, it just costs almost as much as the product. So it doesn't work out. And I imagine there are countries who are in a much worse situation than New Zealand, and they are quite a lot bigger. It's just one of those things. Exchange rates, freight costs, all those sorts of things. And everybody wants miniatures. It's very popular in New Zealand, so you can't really buy anything cheap here in New Zealand. Hi, how's it going? We roll damage. Good day from Canada. Hello, how's it going? Frankie D. Crafter. It's tough out here in CT, laugh out loud. CT, I'm not sure what CT means, but you'll let me know. But good day or good night or whatever it is in your country. So Mona Kwa. I keep messing that name up, I'm sure. Good day from Canada. And our great Imperial family. Also, thanks for the shopping list. Oh gosh, I do apologise if I've created you a huge shopping list of things. That's not really my intention. Take your time. That's my advice. Okay, what's here? F Hubba. Stranger Things starter set only comes with 2 figures. Yes, that's right. The Demo Gorgon. Now, it's not the Demo Gorgon for Dungeons and Dragons 5e, okay, or Dungeons and Dragons. It's the Demo Gorgon that was referred to in the Stranger Things Netflix TV series. So it looks very, very different. You really can't paint those things. I think Blanco, who I did mention, did try to paint them. He had to use a wash. They're so flexible, all the paint will just fall off. So if you're going to try and paint them, go for it, but And really the painted and unpainted one look almost identical. I really feel like that. I mean, I'm not saying that the adventure isn't, or the box set is not worth your money. I'm just saying the miniatures are not a great option. We roll damage. Sorry, not roll damage, sorry. We roll dice. I do apologise. I also brought the Dungeon of the Mad Mage game. It has a lot of good minis. Now, how was that priced compared to the other board games that I've talked about? We roll dice. Was it cheaper? It was probably more expensive because it's a new product. And how many miniatures are in that box? Now, the only reason I did not do include this in my review or this video or this live stream is because the problem is that that particular product is so new, and every time I looked anywhere it did not seem like a viable option to me. Not if you are really hard pinched and you want to keep your prices down. For me, I have bought those boxes and I'm slowly painting the miniatures over time. You can still play with them unpainted. I did so as a kid for years. Okay. Sundry, how we go? How's it going? I went to an event called BrisCon. Okay, so BrisCon is BrisCon in Europe. BrisCon, and they had Lord of the Rings minis. $1 a piece. Yet sometimes you can luck it out. And a Lord of the Rings miniature would be very, very close in terms of scale to your Dungeons and Dragons. I think they are, from memory, slightly smaller. Not by much, maybe just a couple of millimeters. For those of you who don't know what a millimeter is, I'm not going to explain it. By a small amount, basically. By a small amount. So certainly an option. Hi David, how's it going? In the US, gamers, is it gamer nerds is a good place, fair prices and shipping. Okay, gamer nerds. I didn't know too much about gamer nerds, and I didn't really want to talk just about the United States of America or Canada or the US. I didn't really want to talk about the US and North America only, because I know most of you who watch my channel are from there, but I also wanted to make sure I covered all of my bases. So the problem is that gamer nerds would only be useful if you were in the US. Anywhere else it would not work out at all. But good to know. Thank you, David. Matt, dollar store during any holiday. Now the dollar stores, for example, when you say the dollar stores where you are, my dollar stores, and probably a lot of dollar stores around the world, they don't sell Dungeons and Dragons products or anything like that. So going to a dollar store won't work. Might work in your country during a holiday when there's a discount or something like that, but you'll find that it's only going to work if you are in your location. Anywhere else, I can assure you now that New Zealand doesn't get that those benefits, and you go to other places around the world and the chances are their dollar stores, whatever they're called, won't have those same benefits. But if it's working for where you are in your part of the world, awesome. Okay, we roll dice. Okay, question. Is that black dragon the right scale for a young black? Now, which black dragon are you talking about? Are you talking about the black dragon? If you're talking about the black dragon from, which one is it? Let me think. I'm just trying to remember. It's a red dragon, and then there's I don't know that there is a black dragon that I remember. Oh, the shadow dragon. It's large size. I believe it's large size. So I can't remember exactly. I think that's the case. But you could do a little bit of a Google search, and that might be able to help you. I didn't have a picture that showed you sort of the grids and the miniatures on there. But yeah, the Temple of Elemental Evil, I think that's the one you're talking about, which has the Shadow Dragon in it. That Shadow Dragon, for example, Wrath of Ashardalon, which I have right now, Ashardalon is it's on a huge base. Rather than a large size, it's huge. So quite a lot, quite a decent size. Okay, but I don't know about the Shadow Dragon. Okay, whether it would be the right scale for your young black dragon. It probably would be. We rolled dice. In California, it was $94, and it has 43 miniatures. Now, I don't think it would have 43 miniatures. That would be an error. I can't imagine that. I think it's 42. I think what you mean is 42. $94 Canadian sounds pretty expensive, because that means you're paying, what are you paying? You're paying just over $2 per miniature. Some of them are of a different, are not medium size, so that doesn't seem so bad, but I think you'll find you're going to have to wait for a discount. Wait for a discount before making the purchase. Okay, Morgwath. If I don't have the time to learn to paint minis, what are some affordable options? There's no such thing. If you want to buy, it's just, there really aren't affordable options, you know. You've got to be in the United States, and you just got to shop around. There's nowhere else are you going to get those kinds of benefits, because everybody is, Dungeons and Dragons is so popular now. That's why the price of miniatures is going up. Every time they put out a new box, the box price seems to increase. That's the painted ones. But you don't have to worry about painting the miniatures. You can just play with them unpainted. Or if you've got kids, get them to paint them for you. What's that? Sundry. BrisCon is a tabletop gaming event. Brisbane, Australia. Okay, BrisCon. I'm not really familiar with the Australian events, so yeah, if BrisCon has got some stuff going on there. I know if you are at Armageddon in New Zealand, that the Vagabond store will reduce their price by quite a sharp amount for miniatures, because I know the manager, he buys pallets of the things. He won't just buy a few boxes, he'll buy a pallet, and he knows he can sell them. He just won't have as high a markup, but they're all gone in no time, so he gets a lot of traffic, and ultimately he makes a lot of money, even though everybody else has got a really good deal. But like I said, that's not really useful for somebody anywhere else in the world. But if BrisCon has some reasonable deals, then maybe hold out to then if you're in Australia. Sundry, also I like the minis you make. Yeah, if you can't buy miniatures, and there's going to be a few of you who simply can't do that, you can't buy them, you can't get them, it's way too expensive because of exchange rates and shipping or just taxation or whatever, and you have to make them. So I do occasionally do videos on making Dungeons and Dragons miniatures, but there is a channel who is exclusively set around making miniatures. This is what he does, and it's called the Bard's Craft. He makes it out of very, very simple materials, and I would highly advise you, if you can't buy them and you need to make stuff yourself, then just go and check out the Bard's Craft. He makes all sorts of monster miniatures all the time. That won't solve you with the player's characters, but I'm sure you'll figure a way around that. We rolled dice. On Amazon, Dungeon of the Mad Mage was about 78 Canadian. At the cheapest I've seen it. Yeah, I wouldn't see these other boxes that I've been mentioning, such as Legend of Drizzt, Temple of Elemental Evil, Castle Ravenloft, and Wrath of Ashardalon are older boxes, and they would be significantly cheaper. You're paying probably, that's not counting the shipping, you're probably paying more in the 40 to 50 range, depending on what the current price is. Hi Matt, Dollar Store doesn't sell minis. Halloween you can buy spiders. Yes, you can. I have bought spiders before. Just look in the toy section. You can make it work. They are not minis, but toys. Yes, I've bought a lot of plastic toys over the years, but I know there's only so much time and money you can sink into that before you need to expand things, right? So this is why this video exists, and why I'm doing a live stream, so you can ask questions. It'll save me a lot of time, I'm sure. Sundry, does anyone else like the Pathfinder card standees? Yes, pawns. Yes, you can. You can even make your own pawns, and I've shown people how to do that. There's a few channels who have. Making your own pawns, you make them out of Magic the Gathering cards. Cheap as. And just use a ball clip on the bottom to hold them up so they stand up, or you can buy the Pathfinder stands to slide them into. And you just make them out of cardboard. Matt, what do you got here? Yes, I have some. I really enjoy them. Yeah. Now, Pathfinder pawns are a good option. Sundry, I love Bard's Craft. Yes, the Bard's Craft, he's really figured out how to be unique, and I really do recommend people check him out, particularly if you have a lot of time but you don't have a lot of money. We roll dice. I just read the back of the Dungeon of the Mad Mage. It has 43. So that's a bit different. Now, I didn't realise that Dungeon of the Mad Mage had 43. It has 3 Beholder zombies, a Death Torrent, and a few other large minis, as well as Hallister and the Lady Lich. Okay, all right. All the other board games that I've talked about, I did actually state sort of how many miniatures are in those sets. So you're getting maybe one more, depending on, in the price, and it's a newer box, right? We roll dice. Also, I love having your video vids on as I paint. Thank you for what you do. You're welcome. I know a lot of people watch my stuff as they're painting or driving home from work or at work and they're getting bored, and that's good. I just need a drink of water. I'm getting dry. My singing voice. I'm losing my singing voice. Okay. Okay, what do you got here, Matt? Crooked Staff Terrain by Chris. Makes minis from cardboard and straws. Simple household items. Please go and watch his goblin video. Okay. Crooked Staff Terrain. Okay. Now, I guess when I say the Bard's Craft, tends to just make monster miniatures rather than making terrain. There's plenty of channels making terrain. But if you think that the Crooked Staff Terrain has a lot of really good stuff, then good. Pardon me. Oh, alright, so I definitely need to take a break. For those of you, I hope that this has been helpful or useful to you in some way. All the best with your exploration of the world as you try to hunt down your miniatures for Dungeons and Dragons and get your games working the way you want them to. So have a good day, morning, afternoon, night, wherever you are in the world. Make sure to look after your family and your friends and look after yourself. And I will probably be back very shortly in about an hour and a half maybe for one very short video, more tailored to a dungeon master. But anyway, I will see you later, and until next time, keep rolling those 20s.